we not gonna cry during this podcast, okay? So I'm just gonna get that.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay, but they say a man. Anyway, I stood before a judge at the age of 21 and accepted a plea deal of 12 mandatory years. When you heard, the 12 years is a long time. Looking at that time, what were your thoughts as far as the duration of the 12 years, what you were gonna do moving forward?
I mean, I thought about it like, here I am. I feel like I'm another statistic. Here I am, another single mama, and I'm gonna have to do mostly everything on my own without, our son's father, being there in the picture.
Was there ever a time where you were tired of waiting and wanted to give up?
Yes.
Get out.
You actually told me to go home too.
Yeah, I'm telling you now. Yeah, you never tell me you tired.
You told me when they was getting ready to ship you out from everything.
This at the beginning of my sentence because I was trying to save myself from heartbreak.
When Jeremiah got to an age, I think he was like 6, maybe 7, he was like, Mama, jail is a place where bad people go. And he was like, why is my daddy in jail? And that's all the bad people go. I said, well, Duke, your daddy did something bad. He did something bad.
You do not know how excited I am. Very first podcast, very first episode, and I'm ecstatic because of my guest. Very special guest. I wouldn't have it no other way. When I was thinking about this podcast, it was a different title, different way that I wanted to go with it, but I thought about I wouldn't want to start this journey without having the guest that I have now as my very first guest. So it's a whole lot that I could say, probably should say, if I'm trying to avoid getting into some type of trouble, but we'll leave all that for the actual episode. So anyway, without further ado, podcast episode number 1, Making Up for Lost Time. My very special guest, my wife, Jamera Gillon. How you feeling?
I'm just a tad bit nervous,
tad bit, me
excited
too.
at the same time.
Me too.
Anxious.
So we're getting right into it because I don't like to waste time, and the podcast is called Making Up for Lost Time. So just bringing everybody up to speed. I know you know the history, but this is for the people that don't know what's going on. September the 6th, 2014. September the 14th, 2006. I almost got my date right. Yeah. Date wrong. I stood before a judge at the age of 21, just turned 21 in July. Stood before a judge and accepted a plea deal of 12 mandatory years. I know we may not all know about mandatory time, you do, but just bringing everybody up to speed. Mandatory time is what your sentence says. Your sentence says 12 is 12. Your sentence is what your sentence says. There's no coming home for good time. There's no good behavior, none of that. You're going to do exactly what the sentence say. So September the 14th, 2006, when you heard that I accepted that plea deal of 12 mandatory years, I want you to, I know, but walk us through that day as far as who told you, where were you, and how were you feeling?
Okay. Well, I want to back up about a week before that date because you had gone to see your lawyer. Mm-hmm. It had been like a year of going to see your lawyer probably once a month, once every few months or something like that. And they would move your court date back. We know what was going to become of your charges, what was, they kept pushing your court date back. And I remember this court date, it was about a week, after Duke's first birthday. Mm-hmm. You came in the house, you knocked on my door, my mom's house, and my mom was in the living room on the computer. And all I heard was Jamera here? And then she was like, yeah, she in her room sleep, I think. I don't know how she just told you to go on back or what, but you came in, you was like, I want to apologize for everything that I've ever done to you or if I've ever mistreated you and all the wrong things I've done. And I was looking at you like, what? You getting up walking? I'm like, what in the world? But I knew you had to go to court that day, so I'm figuring this had something to do with they done gave you some time, but you didn't let me know anything else.
Yeah, I had already accepted it.
So I ran behind you, followed you outside. You was like, I gotta go because I'm in Trenard's car. And I got to get his car back to him because you had borrowed his car to go to court that day. And I was like, well, what happened? I'm calling, you done left. So, of course, we talked to each other later on that day, and you tell me that they had offered you 12 years. And then going up to that day, the 14th of September 2006, I remember I was at ICC in class, and you called me.
Yep, that's what I remember.
And you called me and you said, well, I didn't get to come home after that. You know how sometimes other people come home and get their last minute love in. And ain't it? I'm here. I'm in Aberdeen, here to stay until they send me off to where I'm going. So I just remember that day initially when you told me, and the day that you actually had to appear before the judge after talking to your lawyer and stuff.
So I know that must have been a tough day because it was tough for me just to make that call and knowing that you were in class. We're not gonna cry during this podcast, okay? So I'm just gonna get
it's
that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay, but they say a man. Anyway, so question 2, I want to get right into my question.
Okay.
Just going back to the time when you heard, the 12 years. 12 years is a long time. A lot can transpire in 12 years.
Yes.
People grow up, become different people in 12 years.
Right.
It's a decade plus. So I know I was, 21 when I went in. You were 20. 19, just turned 20. So I would be 33. I was 33 when I came on. You were 32. So looking at the time, and just to get the picture back straight before we go on, I want to remind everybody that 20 years old, as we just said, college student going back to college, get your life together, further your education, and the mom of a now 1-year-old, just turned 1, September the 6th. And so looking at that time, what were your thoughts as far as you and your son then, as far as what you were going to do? I mean, because life is different for you now. And in the duration of the 12 years, what you were going to do moving forward? Or is that something that you even thought about?
Definitely. I mean, I thought about it like, here I am. I feel like I'm another statistic. Because we were talking about marriage at this time.
Right.
We were talking about, finding our own home. So I was like, here I am. I'm about to just have to strap my boots up and hit the ground running and just do what I got to do because I'm going to be doing it by myself. Of course, with the help of family and everything like that. But here I am, another single mama, and I'm going to have to do mostly everything on my own without, our son's father, being there in the picture, So, of course, I was just heartbroken just for him, heartbroken because I was going to miss you.
Right.
So, I mean, but I knew that I had to do what I had to do, work, whether it was one job, 2 jobs, how many other jobs I had to do to take care of, him and myself,
Right.
So.
Well, I definitely don't blame you right there because I would have missed me too. I mean, I'm a lot to be without. But anyway, speaking of the time, just going back to that sentence. Because at this point, as far as you know, I ain't never been in no trouble. Not saying that I'm no saint, but I'm talking about crimes.
Right.
On that magnitude anyway, getting in trouble, going to prison, in and out of jail, training school, even at a younger age. You've never known me to be that particular person.
Right.
So with the actual crimes that you heard about, the actual crimes that were being brought against me, and I don't even think me and you ever had this discussion as far as, how you felt about that. Just seeing me like this and then hearing me be somebody totally different. Like, tell me about that. I want to know, like, your true feelings about what did you think about them crimes? Like, I know there was a little out there.
I was shocked. I definitely was shocked. Just to hear, everything that happened and all the details of what happened, and then having to hear people in the streets. Of course, we from Amory, it's a small town.
Everything get out.
People even heard stuff that didn't happen, but the streets, once they hear something, they took off. Oh, they said this happened, or they said they did this, and of course, getting it from you, the person who was actually there, and I, having to hear people and what they hearing in the streets. Is it true, that Datron did this? Is it true that Datron did that? And I'm like, nah, I'm having to, defend you. But of course, I was shocked and, disappointed. Definitely disappointed.
That's what I wanted to hear. I've never heard that from nobody. And I'm not putting no blame. This is a sidebar. But I felt like I needed to hear that. And I'm going to get right back into this question after I say this. But nobody really just told me that they was disappointed. People congratulated me for coming home and, didn't get in no trouble. I ain't had no knockout struggles, but nobody knocked me out either. So, people was, you did 12, you held it down, this and that, but nobody really said like, bro, I knew you was a fool, but for that move, like I was disappointed in you for that. Like, so I'm actually like happy to hear you,
I definitely was
how crazy that may sound. I'm happy to hear you say that.
I was definitely disappointed. I felt like, I almost betrayed, like, because I knew that we were trying to, at a young age, build a family.
Live right.
Trying to live right,
Yep.
Was going to church. We had accepted Christ. And, I was just like, this is like a blow, to know that you did this and the effects that I know that it was going to have on me and Jeremiah and not only us too, but, your folks, your mama, your grandmama, the people who raised you, your siblings and things like that,
But,
I was hurt.
I want to make sure this is straight too. We accepted Christ after the fact. So I don't want it to sound like, I was saved and then still went in
yeah. But I'm talking about it was after the fact that you did the crime.
Right. But it was in our mind. I know what you meant.
Leading up to before you left, we accepted Christ.
Right.
Well, that time
we was
waiting.
Off to go. Yeah, I got you. I'm sorry about that.
We was knowing, we didn't know what was ahead until you went that last visit to your lawyer to say,
right,
this is what we offering you. We just was like, because that whole time from the crime being committed.
Here you go with something on the side. I ain't never heard this either. Remember you
to September.
Right.
You kept saying, "Oh, I ain't going to jail."
I felt like it.
Oh, you was so confident.
Not in a cocky way. I just believe God.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, that's what my faith was.
I was there to hear it and see it and everything. You was like, people like, "Oh, Tron, what's gonna happen when when your court date?" Oh, I don't know, but I ain't going to jail. God got me.
Yeah, I felt like that.
Yeah, you was very confident in that. And I really was, not that I wasn't confident or not that I didn't believe in your confidence or believe what you believe. It was just kind of like I didn't know.
And I don't want to make it be no misinterpretation because I don't want nothing to be on God that's not on God.
Right.
But I'm talking about from my end. But when I say I believe God and I wasn't going, I was just making it clear in a sense like I just knew God was in control. And of course, me knowing him, God to be in control, I did feel like I wasn't going to prison, but overall, I knew God was in control.
Right.
And that's just what my faith was. Like, I just don't believe I'm going to go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Not that like, oh, I ain't going up, like I'm just big, bad, and tough. And no, it wasn't like that.
Oh,
but
I know.
Yeah, I had 100% faith in God, still do. Yeah. And everything worked out in my favor. So
definitely.
With that, just that time, that separation, this is kind of a two-part question. I kind of broke it up though, so you got to listen for the wording. What was the hardest part of the 12 years for you? And I'm gonna kind of be bouncing around because 12 years is a lot to cover.
It is.
As far as just asking you about so many things because a lot happened. But what do you feel was the hardest part of those 12 years for what you went through, you personally, what you went through personally during those 12 years? What do you feel like was the hardest part?
I'll have to say the hardest part for me was seeing another young black boy grow up without a daddy, and watching him grow up without a daddy. That was hard for me.
Now,
and I don't want to cry. I'm getting a little emotional thinking about that now.
You just said we can cry 5 minutes ago.
I changed my mind.
Oh, okay.
I changed my mind.
But now, see, that's why I said it's a two-part question, and I wanted you to listen to it because that's my next question. That's what you witnessed.
Right.
My next question is, what was the hardest part of what you had to witness? So that would be the hardest part of what you witnessed.
Right.
You had to witness my son, growing up without his father for 12 years. But I want to know with you, like, what do you see personally, what you had to go through, whether it was moving from city to city, whether it was not being able to fully get your education like you wanted to because you felt like you didn't have your husband or your boyfriend there at the time to do his responsibilities with watching the child, or whether it's job to job or anything that you went through personally. What do you feel like was the hardest?
Just being a single mama, of course. One income is always, it's hard, unless you got this super job and, but it was hard for me being a single mom. It was lonely. It was, of course, I don't want to jump ahead of myself and get off into something else that you may ask me later. But it was hard financially. I mean, loneliness. I mean, it's very hard,
No.
So what I observed watching Duke grow up without his daddy, me, being a single mom, everything, all the responsibility on me to take care of him.
Mm-hmm.
Him asking me questions about his daddy. He got to the age where he was like, he asked me this question one time. I think I told you back there, because we ran into people who said, "Oh, I don't tell my son or my kids
Yeah,
that
like
they daddy's
he at
locked up, he
college.
in college,
Yeah,
or
I
he
never
in the
believed in
army
it.
or something
Yeah.
like that." When Jeremiah got to an age, I think he was like 6, maybe 7. He was like, of course, we coming to visit you constantly. We kept that relationship and the conversations and the telephone was on constantly for you to call home. So that relationship for him was always there. So he never missed a beat on seeing none of that. Coming to visits with me,
Mm-hmm.
being at home when you call. And he got to that age, he was like, Mama, like jail is a place where bad people go. And he was like, "Why is my daddy in jail?" And that's all the bad people's go. Bad people go. I said, "Well, Duke, your daddy did something bad. He did something bad, and he's not a bad person. Now, everybody in prison is just not a bad person. They
Right.
made mistakes just like everybody. So then I had to start teaching him things like that's why we always got to be careful what we do, and when we make decisions and choices in our life that may end up where we may end up in a position where our power is no longer in our hands, it's in the
Right.
hands of somebody else.
Absolutely.
And so just teaching him those things over the years, like this is why.
No.
And it was a teaching tool. It was a teaching tool for me to teach Jeremiah, like, you know this is
This is
what it
what
is.
happens.
This is
Yeah.
what happened, and this is what you don't need to do.
Right. That's
Like,
real.
yeah. So.
And so I know the history, but like I said, all of these questions, like when we bringing out history, is just for informational purposes, and so just for everybody to know, because I often told you, I feel like your side is the most important side. I don't feel like I have a story. Like when you do wrong, there is no sympathy. Even now, that's how I feel looking at other people. There's no sympathy when you do wrong.
Right.
Nobody's never heard my side of the story because there's no side of the story to tell. What happened happened. I went and paid for it, and now I'm not out looking to be no person. Oh, his son grew up without a father, and his wife had to go on. No, that's not me. But I feel like your side is important.
You're right.
So just bringing out some of the history, like you went through so much, and of course I witnessed it. And this is another sidebar thing you didn't know was coming, but I'm gonna say this. I really had a chance, probably even more than my own life. I really had a chance to see God at work in your life. Like I watched you go through so much, but I watched God do what he does. And now true enough, he was there for me and built me up. And I grew in grace and the knowledge of my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. But just I watched you physically go through things.
Right.
I watched you physically lose 4 cars. Coming to see me one time, you lost a car. Ran over mattress caught on fire up under the car. I was like, how this stuff keep happening to this girl? But
It was a seat cushion.
right. Get it straight, because I had it wrong. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. You still ran it over though.
And everybody laugh about that. Now I'd be like, that was not funny.
It wasn't funny, but we
Whole
laughed
car
because
blew
how you run it over though?
It fell off the back of a truck. I'm on 78.
Right. You
cannot
didn't see
avoid
it?
Yes, you.
But let's
it flew.
get back on track
You
with the
just
question.
you couldn't avoid it.
Yeah, you could have avoided. But
No.
but I want to specifically go to the 2 times that you were robbed. Somebody broke in your house, and
Right.
and this 2 things among so many things that you went through.
Right.
But I want to specifically target those things, and anything in your mind that you're thinking of, you can tie it into this question. Okay. But with those things that you went through, long story short, was there any time with those things, or just within a regular night, that you used those things to be mad at me?
Definitely.
Definitely what?
I was mad at you. Definitely.
Is this new to me? Like,
I was mad. Both times I got robbed, I was mad at you for not being there. Because
right.
I felt like in those situations, I was kind of cased out. Okay.
Do you want to go back home with me tonight, or you? Okay, go ahead.
No, do you want to go home with me?
Who paid the bills? Get to the question. Oh, okay. Oh, you gonna bring that out?
Okay.
Oh, you want to act like that? Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I feel like I was cased out. I don't think I ever got no information on who did that to me.
But you kind of felt like.
But I kind of felt like I knew who it was.
You seen a person watching you.
I stayed on the street where it was nothing but family. It was a dead end road, and it was a young man who always was walking to his grandma's house, who stayed in the hood.
Not saying that it was that young man.
Not
just
saying
that that's how you felt.
This is how I felt.
Right.
And of course, I'm the only one on that road who wasn't family. And I feel like I was noticed. I was in a situation where somebody noticed that I was by myself with a young child, and oh yeah, ain't no man going back and forth up in there. She by herself, and yeah, I remember 2 nights that somebody pulled in the driveway and backed out. Probably
thought you wasn't at home.
The minute that it was around Christmas time. I'll never forget. And Jacob actually came back with me. I came down to Amory for Christmas. Wasn't gonna go. I wasn't gonna even come. I was like, it's time for me to start my own tradition. Jeremiah gonna open up his own gifts on Christmas, and we're gonna stay at home and do Christmas in our own home. I was like, nah, I got a whole nother week and a half off of school. I'm going to go to Amory, see my folks, go down there and, somebody might have some. We going to give a little Christmas gift to people. Came down. Jacob came back with me because he was going to go stay with my other sister, Ned, or his daddy or somebody. And we pulled up in the driveway, and then we got out the car, and I remember opening the door, and my TV was gone. I was just like, what in the... I was like, is my TV gone? And then I went and I made it to the hallway, and I could see the whole frame of the door on the floor. The door was closed, but the frame was on the floor. So I knew that you could see that the door had been kicked in or something like that. And so I told Jacob and Jeremiah to get back to the car. I called 911 in the car. But then it just all hit me. I was like, them people been watching me. And the moment that I left and was gone and my car went in this driveway, it was an opportunity for them to go ahead and rob me. Because I wasn't even in Amory, I think, but 2 days. I came down here. I didn't even stay as long as I thought I would.
Oh, yeah, that's long enough.
It was long enough. They saw an opportunity. I was gone, and I came back, and I was just instantly mad at you. I was like, if you was here, this wouldn't have happened. I was so mad. Everybody wanted me to move, and I ended up staying in the house. I was like, no, I'm going to stay. I was kind of nervous. I stayed with my sister for like a week. Then when I went back home, it happened 2 years later. I came home one day from the store, and me and Jeremiah was getting some bags out the car. And I saw some dude. We had a pond next to this house, and it was the family's pond. But I had never seen these people. I knew who the family members and stuff was that lived on the street. It was some young guys that was fishing or acting like they were fishing,
Probably acting.
And I think, that's what, they were casing me, looking out. They broke in the back door this time. And that was the final move. But I was upset with you. I was just like, this done happened to me twice. People noticing that, ain't no man down here. I'm by myself. They know it's just me and a young boy. Yeah, I was mad. I took that out on you because I just was like, if you was here, if you didn't leave me here by myself, this wouldn't be happening to me.
Yeah.
But I mean, it could have happened. But in that moment, I was just upset because I was just like, these people watching me. They know I'm by myself. They know I'm a woman, young woman by myself, and I ain't got no defense I can't do nothing to them, by myself. So, yeah, I took it out on you for real. Yeah. Like big mad.
Yeah, and I definitely can understand that. I mean, because me and you have talked, of course, but one of the things that I often say, even now, is that the story has to get out there to these guys because, I don't want to be so long-winded on this, but just simply because you never think about everybody else, because I didn't think.
Right.
Wherever I was in my mind, it definitely wasn't on what was important as far as my family, my soon-to-be wife and my child. Always saying I wasn't going to be like my daddy and yet still wind up putting myself in that position. So just bouncing around again, now we get into actually during the time, having to... You move so many places. Seemed like simultaneously I was moving so many places as far as through different facilities. You having to come to the lowest part of Mississippi because when they gave me time, they shipped me way down there at the beginning of my time, down there on the Louisiana line. And so I don't want to discuss that. I want to get to the latter part of the sentence when I moved to Marshall County.
Right.
So moved to Marshall County in 2009. and was there throughout the rest of my sentence.
Yeah.
And so, because I know what we went through as far as, I ain't gonna say went through, I know how it looked, visitation.
Yeah.
So I just want you to speak on that, like, what was, because this is another thing people don't see either. What was visitation like for you, your son, whoever else may have came with you? Well, explain that experience.
It was like a date every weekend.
No. No, not the good part.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about what you went through to come see me.
Oh, yeah.
Being all that stuff at the beginning.
Oh, yeah. It was a lot. And it never got better either. It never got better. It got worse, actually.
Yeah.
And it was just like things that we heard even when you came home that I was like, I'm so glad you are out of there. Like, I cannot stand that place. Okay, so let me
don't start with no stories.
Let me dig something up real quick. Okay, so first of all, getting through the checkpoints and all that in that prison, getting patted down, checking, they gotta check you and all this different stuff like that. You gotta go through all these things. All the women couldn't stand me. They could not stand me. Let me tell y'all something.
Here you go.
Cameras, let me tell y'all something. These women in these,
go with the story.
These women in Mississippi run prisons. They run prisons, right? Okay. Most of them young, 20s, 30s, even some 40s and 50-year-olds. These women was in love with my husband.
No.
Let me tell y'all, they liked him. They had crushes on him.
No.
Let me tell you how I know. And every time I would tell them, I'd be fuming getting to the back to see him by the time I done got back here. I get up there, I done wore an outfit or something before, dress or some pants. They gotta check me 5 times. One time, even my sister-in-law, Gillon, we call her Butt, went with me. This girl was looking at me up and down like this. I mean, my sister-in-law said, do I need to say something? I said, baby, this girl must like you because, no, she cool people. She cool. Let me tell you, that Tron he could be very naive to people being cool with him.
And I felt like she was cool, yeah.
Next thing you know, he be like, oh, baby. I ain't gonna say nothing, I ain't gonna give you no detail, but you about were right. These women gave me trouble. They would tell me I couldn't wear a certain shirt that I don't wear before. They'll say, you can't wear them pants, or you can't wear that dress, or you can't wear that skirt if I don't wear something similar like that. They gave me trouble all the time. You can't wear that.
Did they what was the shaking down process like? Because I know how it was for us back there, but I'm saying, like, what did they actually do?
Oh, they gotta pat you all up here. You gotta shake it out and make sure, do this right here. They gotta feel you up and down.
That's what I wanted to hear.
You gotta go through a machine.
That gotta be embarrassing.
Then you're doing it in front of other people. You gotta take your socks off sometime. I mean, just unnecessary stuff. I'm just
were you ever in a position where your feet stunk when you had to take your socks off? That ain't got nothing to do with it.
Okay.
Next. So right now we're about to get into a segment that I like to call questions from the outside. Everything that you heard up until this point has really been coming from me.
Okay.
And just our interaction, really what I wanted to ask on my own for the podcast sake. But now we have some people that done chimed in and they sent us over questions that they want to know for our guests.
This is
very
official.
First guest. Yeah, we all the way official. So our very first question is coming from Vanessa Gillon, the little Vanessa Gillon.
Okay.
Not the big one. The big one is the mama.
Michelle.
Vanessa Michelle. Let's clear that up. Vanessa Michelle, she has a couple of questions. So we'll go over those. You give me an answer, then we'll go right along.
Okay.
So question number 1. I don't even like this question. Tip. So it says, was there ever a time where you felt like you were tired of waiting? Because we know what the sentence is, 12 years, and 12 is a long time. Matter of fact, some guys told me that. But anyway, that's another story. Like 12 a long time to do by yourself. Was there ever a time where you were tired of waiting and wanted to give up?
Yes.
Get out.
You actually told me to go home too.
Yeah, I'm telling you now. Yeah, you don't never tell me you were tired.
You told me when they was getting ready to ship you off from Aberdeen.
This at the beginning of my sentence because I was trying to save myself from heartbreak. If you was gonna leave me, I didn't want to be heartbroken. So I'm trying to give you a chance.
Okay.
But go ahead, because I know you finna tell the story.
You told me in the beginning too. You said, baby, 12 years is a long time. That's a long time. I mean, This is when you really broke down mandatory time for me. I don't think I really knew. I don't even know if you told me or you said, no, I don't get no good time. I don't get good behavior and things like that and work release and all that stuff like that. I have to do every day of 12 years.
Right.
So if this is your own opportunity to go ahead and, go on if you want to go on, And I said, you ain't got to worry about that. But, as time went on, I had thoughts, and a lot of times it came from thoughts from other people telling me, and it was like, oh girl, I don't see how you do that, girl. One person told me, girl, you 20 some years old, ain't no way, you got a whole life ahead of you, and it was things like I would be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do it, I was so confident, especially in the beginning. Right. Oh yeah. We'll still be early. We'll be 30 and 31, 32, whatever when he comes. Like, we're going to be young, like, still. But there were some times where it crept in. Right. But then when those thoughts crept in, just as quick as they came in, they left because I knew what I wanted, especially in 2010 when we got married. When you left in 06, 2010 we got married. I mean, I knew at that point that it was really a wrap.
Yeah, you should have known.
It was really a wrap.
Right.
So.
But, okay, question 2. It says, what was the hardest part of being in a relationship with someone who was incarcerated?
That's a really good question.
It is.
That's a good job, Vanessa. Tip, good gracious, girl. I might hurt your brother's feelings on here.
You ain't gonna hurt me. You already hurt me. We want to leave me with the. Go ahead.
Sometimes, especially when we were married, I kind of had a feeling like, okay, Detron is here, I'm there. Okay, Detron is really not having a whole lot to do at home, bills, things, but he's my husband, so I'm having to listen and take in what my husband's opinions are of like what I do or how I spend money, and right. I'm like, wait a minute, what you talking about? I need to do this and I need to. No, brother, you here? I ain't there. That was hard sometimes, or telling me certain things how I need to do, certain things how I need to spend money, or certain things of what I need to do is like how I need to dress, or just different things like that. I'd be like, how you gonna tell me? First of all, what I always be saying, first of all, I'm a sophisticated woman anyway. Like, I'm not gonna wear certain things anyway because of who I am. Like, we went through things like that, and it was just like, because of where he was and where I was, I feel like, no, you can't tell me that. Like, those were hard things, but I had to.
Yeah, it definitely was hard.
I also had to be like, okay, well, this is my husband, so I have to consider like how he feels about certain things, and so.
And here I am back there the whole time, like I'm bragging to my guys, like you just really out there taking my word and just letting it be law. But here you is want to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
You feel me? But you got me stunned back there with the guy. Like,
I didn't know you was stunned.
I'm telling you now. I'm back there stunned with the guy. Like, yeah, man, my wife, anything I tell my wife to do, she gonna do it. Like, even from back here, like, yeah, I got me one, didn't have one.
Yes, you did.
Didn't have one. Question 3. What differences, now this is my best question.
Okay.
Good job, Vanessa. What differences can you pinpoint going from having someone that was away with the struggles that you just named and having me present?
Okay.
Or having someone present, I ain't gonna say
that. Now that
is a good question.
That's a really good one.
Yeah.
Okay. So, going to visitation every week, especially when we got every week visits, it was like, you put your best foot forward, you wear your best clothes, you do your hair the best,
speak. I'm glad you brought that up because what people need to understand when you going into the system, that don't come soon as you go in there. I had to work my way up to that. So I started off every visit a month.
Yep. Then
it was 2.
Then every week.
Yeah. So don't think you just, oh man, I get to see my loved one every week. No, it ain't gonna start off like that. But go ahead.
True. So going to visit him, I was putting my best foot forward. Makeup. I tried to do my makeup the best I could. My hair, nails. Trying to be cute. The best, like a date. How we always, when we, how it is in the beginning of a relationship.
Yeah, like 1,000 first dates.
Always feel like you showing your best. You know, you don't really
absolutely.
know. Even though we had been together for years before you went to prison, you know, from high school. I was 15, you was 16. You left when you was 21, and I was just turned 20. So we've been together 5-6 years before you went to prison. But it just
those years was kind of sketchy though, because a lot happened in those years.
It was a lot happening in those years. We was young.
No, I'm not talking about. I'm just talking about moving, going to college.
Yeah, went through a lot. So, but you know, and then of course we're both growing separately from each other spiritually. Like you went to Bible college, you elevating in your, you know, spirit man, and you know, I'm seeing who you are and how you have changed dramatically from this boy to a man. And I'm sure, you know, you probably saw some things and changes in me too, you know, because I'm going to church, I'm growing spiritually and everything as well.
Absolutely.
So I felt like we was putting our best foot forward. You never had to see me with my hair all over my head, crust in my eyes.
Ooh, I see it now.
Slob on my face.
Ooh.
Ashy legs. Because I done got the shower, ain't put no lotion on.
Them things will be powder white. Go ahead though.
Breath stank. You know, like you when you live, when you're out, you see all of it.
Right.
You know, and it get kind of, people can get complacent, you know. And I feel like while you was there, we was best foot forward. You too, visit. All you had your essential oils on.
Oh yeah. I'm talking about Egyptian musk.
Fresh.
Musk. Yeah.
All you had your visitation shoes on.
Don't try to make it into a joke now. Cut the joking now. Cut the joking.
It was top tier. And you know, I felt like even we didn't have you know, those real tough conversations all the time. We did. Right. We've had some tough conversations where, you know, I was upset at a visit or something, you made me mad, or I made you mad, or we was disagreeing or something like that. But we was always able to reel that back in. You know, coming home, you know, sometimes, I know you because I see you every day.
Right.
And you done made me mad and I don't want to talk to you today, or, you know, or this and the third, or vice versa. You know, it's different because you get to see that person all day, every day. Mostly, you're hardly ever separate unless you're at work or.
So the difference is it? Are you saying that it's a better thing as far as being home? I know you listen to differences, but I want to hear the better part. I just want to make sure I'm making a difference in your life. That's all I'm trying to get to.
Oh yeah, you definitely making a difference.
Well, bring that out because you
definitely making a difference. And of course, when you first came home, of course it was like every day. I think my jaws
you
was
in
hurt.
love. I was cute.
I think my jaws
sexy.
Was hurt.
Yeah, I
but
agree.
I know now you'll be ashy too.
Sometimes. Sometimes I'm light skinned, so I don't really just get ashy like that.
Okay.
For real.
All right.
I put a little Vaseline on today, but anyway.
It's just that it's a difference because you're with this person every day.
Right.
And now you know, like, as you're growing, and we never lived with each other before you went home, before you went to prison. We never lived with each other. I was around you a lot. I spent the night, you know, sometimes, but like.
Hey, come on now, because I don't know if my mama and grandma going to be watching this. You talking about spending the night with somebody.
I stay with you at Bo House sometimes. Before you left.
Have mercy. Let's get on to our next question because you getting out of hand.
But what I'm saying is we didn't live together.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh Lord, he don't clean this up, or you might be like, oh Lord, but those things is what make a marriage to me great. Right. Like to me, those things don't bother me. It just you are who you are, and I am who I am. You know, we're living a life of marriage and 2 more kids added to it. Right. So you know.
So now, our next question, Vanessa, you asked some tremendous questions. Our next question is from my big cuz, Bryce Gillon, and he got a list of questions. I think I'm going to just get 2 out of here, just for time. So yeah, you got a book. Okay. Cuz don't play. And so the very first one, whether you want to go home with me or not, be careful how you answer. So it says, if you had to do it over, would you still marry me?
If I had to do it over, would I still marry you? Yes. Yes, I would.
Okay, I don't want to know too much more because you took too long.
Okay.
All right.
I had to really think about. Okay.
And I don't want you to go too in depth on this because I don't want nobody to be mad at you. But it says, what did your friends and family think about your decision?
Friends and family. I would have to say that my mama, of all people, you know, a mama and a daughter, you know, having to see her daughter go through something like that, typically would be like, girl, that ain't it. You gotta move on. You know. And but my mama was very supportive of me being there for you. She was very supportive.
Oh yeah,
Always.
most definitely.
Always. My sisters, they just knew. They just know we've been together. They just was used to that. It was always some jokes and things like that, like, hey, um, I don't see how you doing it that long, here and there from family and friends, but the support was there.
Right.
It was there.
And I just wanted to add this in while you're speaking on your mama. Your mama is the only person, no matter how anybody else may feel, after I got out and continued, for some years, all the way up until, she left us, your mama was the only person who showed me that she still believed in me. That person that everybody was, that they were hyping everybody up to believe in. Oh, they trying to be this pastor, this preacher, he done got saved, changed his life, blah, 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 blah. Everybody was, I can't wait for they trying to get home. I'm going to go to this church. He going to baptize me. A lot of people lost that, and I ain't mad, but I don't want to be too long, but just mama was the only person that I know personally who held that belief until, she left us. She still believed that I was that person. So, this last segment is called Giving Back. And it was originally going to be the title of the podcast, but giving back is really just us taking our platforms, us taking our voices, everything that we done been through to give back to the youth, to somebody who may be in your position, to somebody who's possibly going to go through this, is going through it now, or just whoever can take this encouragement and use it. Right. And so I give you the opportunity and you give to the folks. So now, during this segment, and we're going to end, this is called Giving Back. What is it that you have to give to anybody who may listen to what you're saying, your experiences, what you went through? What are you giving back to those so they can continue to move forward?
Well, as a mother, of an 18-year-old and a 2-year-old.
And a 4-year-old, don't leave my baby out.
Boy. I'm talking about black boys especially, especially, geared to black boys. It's up to these parents to really, train their children and teach their children, not just raising them, not feeding them, giving them their necessities, really training their kids, to not take certain routes. And a lot of times as parents, we're doing that. And your kids may just take they gonna do what they want to do when they get to a certain age, and that's just is what it is. You can't tie them up to a tree, and they ain't gonna never do nothing. But we gotta train them, and we have to be getting them into everything that they can be, because a lot of times these young boys and young men are going to prison at such a young age, and you're losing so much time, and they don't have that family support that you had. We've seen it. Back there, you saw a lot of young men who didn't have nobody to come visit them, nobody to send them money on their books, no nothing. And it's not always gonna be like how you had it, even though how you had it is still not a great thing. It's not a great thing to go to prison and leave your wife and your mama and your sisters and your kids and stuff behind. It's not a great thing. So I just want to tell people just to find that thing in your life that just keeps you on the right path.
Right.
And to the parents, do everything that you can for your children to keep them on the right path. Because, we don't want to lose our sons to the streets. We don't want to lose them, whether they go to jail or whether they be killed or whatever the case may be. And we see it so much happening, especially in this day and time, where these young black boys doing everything they can, it seemed like, to just not be here no more. You would think that the decision would be easy, but once they are pulled in, and that lifestyle has them.
Right.
So I just would encourage people, it wasn't easy. It was not easy coming there every week, gas, money on the card to eat, and going through the process of getting back there to see you and being patted down, and being embarrassed like that in front of people where they saying you can't come see him today, and different things like that. And it was we had a lot of that. Where the phone may get shut down. I don't hear from you for weeks, and different things that we went through. It was a lot.
The whole facility gets shut down.
It was a whole lot going through it, where your family missing you and your birthdays passing by and things like that. It wasn't all fun and apples and ice cream and cake. It just wasn't all that every day.
Well, I definitely appreciate that. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you being my first guest. I don't know if we hug or shake hands or what, you know what I'm saying? because it's a podcast, we want to keep it PG. Mama might be watching. But I want to thank all of my sponsors. This is going to be moving forward a donation-based podcast just because so many people are reaching out and believing in the vision and believing what we got going on. So I want to thank all of my sponsors. You know who you are, because I didn't want to get the naming names and people didn't want to be included in that because some people said they just wanted to give and not be noticed like that. So I want to thank everybody who donated. You know who you are. I really appreciate it. I thank God for you. Thank God for my cameraman. I ain't gonna mention his name. Thank God for my first guest on this podcast, my wife. And I want to leave you with this. The name of the podcast is Making Up for Lost Time, but it's a play on words because I don't even believe that you can make up for lost time. Yeah. But if there ever was a way, the only way you can make up for lost time is by moving forward.